Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cone back here again today with another video. Last night we crowned a new NBA champion in the Milwaukee Bucks. Once again, shout out and congratulations to them. But unfortunately, with every NBA Finals winner, there has to be some team that fell just short. And this year, that was the Phoenix Suns, losing in 6 games. Their first Finals appearance in a very long time, and ultimately, all around a very, very successful season. Even though they didn't end up winning it all, they haven't made the playoffs in about a decade. And for them to go from that to making the finals and coming just a couple games away from winning the whole thing, that's a huge accomplishment for this franchise, for the guys on this team, for Coach Monty Williams. And I hope the fans, while I completely understand if you're disappointed, if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, I hope after the disappointment kind of settles, you find time to appreciate just how special this Suns team was and this run was. Now, going forward, as I've done with every team that's got eliminated from the playoffs, I'm here to make a video and talking about a little bit of what I think they need to do or what the game plan looks like going forward. But this one's a little bit different because for most teams, I've had some constructive criticisms. I've said they should do this, they should do that. Like they needed to make some changes other than like the Brooklyn Nets, who I said basically just need to get healthy. But for the Phoenix Suns, coming just short of a title means that there's not really that much you need to do. Really what they need to do is bring this team back and try and add a couple more pieces to bolster the roster. This team didn't get here by accident. People are going to talk about injuries, an easy path, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you make the NBA Finals after missing the playoffs for a decade, especially for a team that hasn't made the finals in super long, you don't blow that up. You give Chris Paul his money. You already have Devin Booker locked up. You extend DeAndre Ayton long term. He's going to get probably a max extension this offseason as a member of the 2018 draft class. He's now going to be eligible for that. Jay Crowder is still locked up. Mikal Bridges, you can also give him an extension going forward. And he's only 24 years old. And that's probably the best part about this run for Suns fans is that most of their core outside of like a Chris Paul is still pretty young. Devin Booker, 24. DeAndre Ayton, 22. Mikal Bridges, 24. Like, Cameron Payne, if you keep him, he's only 26 years old as well. You've got good pieces. Cam Johnson's only 25 that are going to continue to get better. You do need to continue to bolster the roster with those guys, those veterans that can help you out, like a Chris Paul. But ultimately, the core of your roster is still super young. This team has a great chance of being back here eventually. The question is, how do they get there? And can they do it again next year? Can they repeat as Western Conference champions? And of course they can. It's just going to be tough. Teams are going to get healthier. Teams are going to get better in the offseason. And the Suns have to find a way to keep up with that. Chris Paul is probably going to, I would say he's 100% going to decline his player option and he's going to become an unrestricted free agent. I would expect him to come back to the Phoenix Suns. I think he knows what they did here was special, and I think he wants to be part of this again. There is a timeline where I could see him trying to go somewhere where maybe he thinks he has a better chance of winning a ring. Maybe he tries to go to like a Lakers or something like that. But my gut instinct, and I would say a 99% chance, is that Chris Paul returns to the Suns on is probably what like maybe like a 3-year, $60 million deal or something along those lines. Chris Paul is going to lock up his last big contract of his career, secure that financial security so that knock on wood, but maybe somehow next season he accepts the player option and he ends up getting dealt a big injury, or he just stops performing and he loses out on extra money. Chris Paul, after this season where he was an all-NBA level player, he was one of the best teams on a championship contender, he wants to secure that bag, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And the Phoenix Suns, I think, are going to give it to him. I would be surprised if they just completely let him walk after what they just did. So I think Chris Paul is going to be back. Obviously, you have Booker back. Ayton and Bridges are going to get extensions. Jay Crowder is still under contract. Cam Johnson still under contract. Javon Carter. Cameron Payne is a guy you're going to have to re-sign, but I think he'll end up being back. I think the Suns give him some money. So pretty much every player that played like big minutes in their rotation is going to be back going forward. Now, question of free agency is, do you bring anyone in from free agency? And of course, the hard part is, with all of these guys kind of nearing extensions, you're not going to have a lot of money. Devin Booker is making a good bit of money. You're going to pay Chris Paul as your big name free agent. Ayton and Bridges are eligible for extensions, and I would expect them to at least lock up Ayton, if not both Ayton and Bridges. So they're going to be kind of capped out on money. Maybe there are some trades they could make here. Maybe they do a sign and trade with like a Cameron Payne. Maybe some team wants to pay him a decent bit of money, and they're willing to give up like a couple solid role players to fill in that role for Cam Payne. Maybe something like that. that's probably the best way I could see them building this team up. Maybe there's a team out there with a solid role player that wants a young guy, maybe like a Jalen Smith, who really didn't get many big minutes on this team and probably won't be getting huge minutes going forward unless it's at the backup center. Now that Dario Saric is going to miss time with that ACL injury, maybe they try and build Jalen Smith up as that backup center, or as a championship contending team, you trade Jalen Smith to try and bring in a better backup vet. So those are kind of some moves I could see for the Suns, but it's really tough to project how this Suns offseason is going to go because I honestly expect them to kind of just run it back. So I don't have a lot more to say about this Suns team, so I kind of just want to talk about their championship run as a whole, and I feel really bad for the Phoenix Suns. I haven't made it a secret that I'm a huge fan of the Suns. I've been rooting for them to make it out of the West. I was rooting for Chris Paul to get that ring. Chris Paul is one of my favorite players in the entire NBA. Thunder legend, of course, Oklahoma City legend, especially back even when he was like really young playing for the OKC Hornets. Chris Paul is just a legend, and to see a guy like that finally make it over the hump and get so close to winning a ring but fail at the end, it's really sad to see. I don't think that was his last chance. I think he's still got shots, especially if somehow he ends up at the end of his career. Like Chris Paul's 36 right now. I could see him playing till he's like 40. That's how good he has been the last couple years. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Paul at the end of his career is doing like we saw Rajon Rondo. Obviously, Rondo's not the level of Chris Paul, but in a similar role where a team like the Lakers needed a floor general on their championship team. You bring in a veteran guy like a Chris Paul down the line when he's older, and he helps you win a championship. That's something I could absolutely see for Chris Paul's career, and I hope at some point he's able to get a ring. For the rest of this roster as well, Devin Booker, another guy that I've made it no secret I'm a big fan of him as a player. I think he's going to be back. Same with Ayton and Bridges, three young guys who in their first playoff run ever really shined, and it was just super cool to see a new team, a new face of the Western Conference rise up and kind of show what they were made of. I do again one more time want to say that if you're a Suns fan who told me or someone else, because I was campaigning for the Suns to trade for Chris Paul all offseason, if you're one of the people who told me that was a bad idea or a bad trade, and we'll talk about bad takes in a video that you'll probably see tomorrow, but if you were one of those people, you can drop your apology in the comment section below. Thank you so much. And I also really feel bad for Monty Williams. He is a guy who is a Thunder coach. He's been through a lot of personal tragedy recently. They talked about that in the broadcast last night. But Monty Williams is like one of the best people on this entire planet. He gave such a heartfelt congratulations to the Bucks in their locker. They were all in champagne gear. They had the goggles on. They had champagne bottles in their hands. They were going crazy after beating his team. And he gave a teary-eyed post-game press conference and then walked over to their locker room, congratulated them, and said, "Thank you so much for making me a better coach, making us a better team, and congratulations." He's like a top 5 person of all time. So to see Monty Williams come up short like that, it just sucks. And he's a guy that I'm a huge fan of his. I've been a fan of his as a coach. Like I said, he was part of the Thunder organization for years. And so to see a guy like that fall just short really hurts. I hope he's able to come back. And I already know he's going to lead the Suns team once again to a huge run next season and for years to come. Final thing is something that I hate about NBA Finals, or just all in general when teams fall short, is that rather than praising the teams that made the big accomplishment like the Milwaukee Bucks, a lot of people like to focus on tearing down those that fell short. This was an incredible run from the Suns. The Suns have they should be nothing but proud of themselves. I know it sucks to fall short of a championship. That makes sense. But ultimately, this was not expected from a lot of people. And for the Suns team to make this run the way that Chris Paul played this season, I don't understand why Chris Paul's getting so much hate. He was the Suns' best player last night. He was so good all season and in the playoffs. He had a couple games here and there, but for the most part, he was phenomenal. And so to see people just decide to go at Chris Paul rather than congratulating the Bucks, it sucks. Same with Devin Booker, same with DeAndre Ayton. Don't tear these guys down. Build up the team that won it all. That's about all I have to say, I think, for the Phoenix Suns. Like I said, I think they'll be back. I don't think that this was a one-off or anything like that. I think they will be a contender once again next year. Obviously, it's not easy at all to return to the finals, and especially for a team that a lot of people, some people think overexceeded. I'm sure people will be looking for the Suns to fall off next year. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think the Suns will be back in contention for the Western Conference title next season, trying to once again make it to the finals. They're going to have a lot of heavy competition, but between the great coaching of Monty Williams, this great core that they've built up, young guys that are just going to continue to get better, the Suns are going to be back. If you made it to this point in the video, drop a shout out the Suns, I guess, in the comment section below. Thank you for watching all these What's Next videos. I'm going to do these again next season. They've been a lot of fun to give to you. Maybe I'll start doing them next year as teams get eliminated from the playoffs. So maybe I can talk about every single team by the end of the season. But I thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I will see you guys tomorrow with another video. I'm going to do a reaction to the worst hot takes of the NBA season. So be on the lookout for that. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys later. Real One Say back.